talk about Imran Khan's priorities, and I spoke about it, and you just touched base that Pakistan's economy is going down in the slumps. Rupee is basically having a free fall. 178 rupee for a single dollar. And when Imran Khan came to power, I think it was 110 rupee, which had been stable there for a while. So 100 rupees, $1. Okay, fair enough. But now it's going to 178, and some people are predicting that it's going to be 200 rupees by the end of the year. But then on the other hand, he's busy, doing his beads and celebrating the birth of the Prophet, and just these. I was listening to one of the very sane voices, Najam Sethi, and he was like, no matter how much Imran Khan tries to score these cheap political points, the hardcore Islamists in Pakistan, they know Imran Khan knows nothing about Islam. The liberals, he's lost them as well. The liberal voices that you and I had, he's lost them as well. He's only got these UTIs in the middle who also are like him, who don't know anything about Islam. They will be the first casualties if Islamists come to power. We've seen what these guys are supporting. They're like, yeah, men should not even be allowed to trim their beards. Women should not be allowed to go to schools and colleges. But this Imran Khan's crowd, this people in the middle, those guys don't know what real Islam is. They actually think that the real Islam is, you can do whatever, you can watch the Bollywood movies, and you can have these sexy dramas and fashion shows and all of that, but at the same time we love our Prophet. That's what Imran Khan thinks. But that crowd is as confused as Imran Khan himself. So that's why it's never going to go anywhere. But look what these guys are focusing on. They're focusing on this: no hugs, caressing, bed scenes in Pakistani dramas, directs PEMRA, which is Pakistani Electronic Media Regulatory Authority. So they just issued a warning to all satellite channels, like all the private channels, to refrain from airing caress and hug scenes in Pakistani dramas in a recent notification, in continuation to early directions of the authority issued from time to time, wherein it was conveyed that satellite TV channels are indulging in airing objectionable dramas, content based on indecent dressing. Look at that. Look at the indecent dressing. Oh my God. Aren't you getting turned on? Are people getting turned on by looking at the two people showing these scenes? Okay, if you don't want to watch it, you don't watch it. Why do you have to control people? I don't watch this because I just don't find Pakistani entertainment any entertaining. Unnecessary detailing of events. Unnecessary, yes, unnecessary. You know what husband and wives do in private, Are they showing intercourse? Are they showing sexual scenes? No, they're just showing a little bit of compassion, public displays of affection, which actually shows there's nothing wrong in holding your wife's hand or hugging your wife or showing her some love. Your wife is not just for sex and making babies. So this kind of compassion shown between two, that's the soft side of the art. That's what art does. It softens people. Anyway, so that's what he's focusing on.
This is crazy, because I obviously don't find Pakistani dramas entertaining either. Like I can't watch them. But when I have been susceptible to it being on TV at home, and what I've seen from it is there's already such a lack of like that, just normal physical affection shown anyway. Like they portray married couples to be so like stone cold, and there's none of that. Like it's not played out in like a healthy manner that you would see anyway. So I would argue that they're not showing enough, like you're saying, normal interaction between how a spouse, should act with one another. That they don't even go as far. A hug is considered like, maybe I've seen like one hug, maybe in one entire series of an episode. And then also, forget this, stop showing dramas where the plot line is a girl tied to a tree and her father-in-law is trying to marry her because her husband's disappeared for a number of years. The reason I don't watch Pakistani entertainment was because the plot line is always where the woman is so weak and helpless, and there's some form of actual real trauma happening to her, and it's played off in this like amazing drama where this guy or will eventually free her or help her, or the police eventually sees like sense and helps the girl out. But the story and the plot line are just so full of violence towards women, abuse towards women. There's an actual, I forgot what that drama was called, but because it's a beautiful song and I listened to it, but I can't watch the video because genuinely a girl is tied to a tree. It's set in like this this village in KPK somewhere. And I mean, even like the older generation, when they're watching this on the TV, I remember my granddad saying to my grandma, "What are you watching? This is so distressing." And they're lapping it up. Like, they're like, "Oh, this happens in Pakistan. This is what happens in the villages." And I understand that. But the way you're so ready to show a woman being beaten, trying to be married off to her father-in-law, which is a disgusting concept. The mother-in-law agrees. These are, why are you putting, I mean, ban those first and show hugs, show a kiss on the cheek, show these things, normalize it. The more you push this to the back and you separate the sexes like this and you segregate it and you show how it's so healthy to have an unhealthy relationship, it's just going to mess with society's minds and young minds who watch this, and this is the only media that they have access to. So this next level censorship is just, again, Pakistan is really, really going to the dogs lately. No good news going out of there.
The logic behind this that they give is that this leads to sexual assaults for some reason. That is the logic behind that. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not strawmanning it. They're saying that when people see this, they're enticed to engage in these kind of immoral activities. Okay, here the TV show is showing maybe girlfriends or husbands, wives, but that entices those incels to want to do those same things, and then they end up so there's been a spike in sexual assaults in Pakistan, which a lot of people say that no, there's no spike, it's just being reported a little bit more than what it used to be. So I've shared this video so many times. They always link these the sexual violence, these acts of sexual violence, to showing off these kind of, like, for example, if you see Britney Spears dancing, or or Nicki Minaj dancing, and that's just gonna do something inside of you that you're gonna go out and just grab a woman and you're gonna sexually assault her. That's the logic that they give. But have a look at this. So we know in Pakistan, anyone who's been to Pakistan would know, it's when you go out, you only see a sea of men. There are only very few places, like, for example, some modern, really posh shopping centers where you would see the equal proportion of women and men. Or actually, not even equal then. You would still see 30% women and 70% men, because every shop owner, shopkeeper is a man. So that's what you see. So what happens? If they are getting frustrated, which we know they are getting frustrated, they are getting sexually frustrated, the solution to that is not locking up your women. Because when you lock up women, this is what happens. I'm sorry, I should actually put Urdu English subtitles in that, because I know it's going to come up time and time again. I'll translate that for you.
पाकिस्तान में, और ये सबसे बदशक्ल बात है, ग्रुप है हमारा, एनजीओ होता था वॉर अगेंस्ट रेप, WAR, उन्होंने बताई स्टैटिस्टिक्स, और ये इशू जब टैकल करेंगे पाकिस्तान में, इससे आपकी एक रेवोल्यूशन भी आएगी, एवोल्यूशन भी आएगी, रेजिस्टेंस भी आएगी. गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट से पूछा जाता है, बच्चियों से पूछा जाता है कि रेप किसने किया. 82% परपेट्रेटर्स वालिद, चाचा, ताया, दादा, नाना, मामू, फूफा उसके बाद आते हैं ये लोग, भाई.
So basically, this lady who is actually a member of the either National Assembly or Punjab Assembly, who belongs to Imran Khan's party herself, she's saying that when women are brought to gynecologists and they ask them, these are out of court, they haven't even been reported to the police station. When these women, when these girls are brought and we find out, okay, who did this to you? Who committed this act of sexual violence against you? 82% of these, the perpetrators are fathers, brothers, uncles, and maternal and paternal grandfathers. And we'll share the link to this report in the description. Over 82% of rapists are fathers or brothers of victims. PTI MNA, Imran Khan's MNA. So there you go. She's an MNA. So this is what happens. So basically, what you're telling us, that you're gonna as if people are going to forget about sexual acts, or as if people are going to forget about what sex is if they don't see an act of public display of PDAs, public displays of affection. Unless they see that, they're going to forget about what these acts are. So the solution they come up with: lock up women. Taliban go one step further, lock up to a point that they can't even go to schools or colleges or universities. No work, no employment. That is the end goal, literally. That if you follow that line of logic, that's where it leads to, and you're locked up at home. And then what happens? Then this.
Sorry, just one second, yeah. Just to go back on the point you just said about the drama thing, because what they've said is honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I'm saying, it's going to have the counter effect, because now when you're being even less affectionate towards women and you're not showing them the same kind of value, or like, you know, just treating them as you would naturally treat a woman, it's going to make people even colder towards women. And that the whole precept of Pakistani dramas, even in the setting of a family household, which is the horrible statistic what this M&A woman is saying, but the whole concept, even when they're showing a Pakistani nuclear family, is that whether it's the father, whether it's the brother, whether it's the mum's brother, whoever comes round, it is the girl who is the most obedient. She brings the tea out, she's covered up, she's always, like, you know, tiptoeing around. They don't show any empowered Pakistani woman kind of like, you know, living life on her own terms. It's always like almost as a servant or being subservient to the male figures in her family. And the only thing that's attributed to her is izzat and respect. And it's all focused on eventually her marriage. And I do have a bone to pick with a lot of these Pakistani women celebrities who claim to be empowered and feminist, because they accept roles which are so degrading and they're just so not beneficial to the freedom of women in Pakistan. You know, they suscept themselves to play a role where they are at the behest of men constantly. They're at the behest of two men. They're trying to run away from one. Like, it's all centered around that. And now you're trying to take affection out of the equation. What's your actual population? This is like the minds of the youth from when they're young. Like, boys will not see women as equal, or a brother will not see a sister on equal footing if all he sees every day is that he should come home from work and expect his sister to come out with a cup of tea for him, and, you know, tell him when dinner's on the table, and then she goes and replicates that in her marital home. This is setting the bar so low from the beginning, and now they want media to portray that in a way where you're dehumanizing women even more by saying, oh, you can't show them affection, don't show hugs, don't. This is basic human nature. We are social creatures, we are loving creatures, we express love. This is a society that wants to be formed devoid of love and human emotion, and based on the ideologies of like the 7th century. It's wild to me. But yeah, women also need to, like, what happened to a woman that was empowered in Pakistan? If Qandil Baloch, I know people are going to argue, oh, she wasn't empowered, she's just, you know, trying to rebel. But I'm sorry, she was the closest thing to a woman saying, I want to live life on my own terms and I want to do what it is that I want to. And look at the fate that she suffered. And so all these other women, like even the ones that I would try and look up to as being feminist, all revert back into their circle and say, oh, at the end of the day, like, Islam tells me my husband is everything and I should be good to him. And then you're playing roles which women who would look up to you are seeing you, you know, be literally under the thumb of all the men in your family and have the whole concept of respect put on your head, and you're bearing the brunt of that. Now rant is definitely over, but that's what I have to say about the drama news.
Okay, we'll wrap up the story here with Gulzar's comment. Thank you for the super chat. It's saying Pakistani dramas circle around marriages only, which is true. And the point that you made that why don't they show empowered women? The truth to that is that whenever they actually show an empowered woman in a drama scene or something in a storyline, then she's always shown as the evil woman. Always that's the case. Like, oh, she's a homewrecker. She goes to work. There's this nice woman, nice wife sitting at home waiting for her husband. Husband goes out, and then there's this loose character woman who's working out, who takes pride of her body, or just goes to gym and is employed, works with her husband. Has
a social life, basic things. They think a woman who has a social life is like a husband's divorce is justified. Why? She goes out with her friends. She's gone down the drain. This is how low the bar is.